So today we have a guest with us, and welcome to you, ma'am.
Thank you very much.
Would you care to introduce yourself to our audience here and explain a little bit about your experience and your credentials?
Thank you. My name is Florine Nyamakawo. I work for a registered real estate company called DingaMuzi Real Estate, and we mainly focus on property sales and management, and we do property valuations, property development. That is actually our main core businesses. But if you want us also to do property verifications for you, we also do that for you as well.
Okay. So would you add and mention how long you have been in the industry? Since you mentioned that you're a registered agent, how long have you been in the industry?
I personally have been in the industry for 13 years. I've been in the industry for 13 years, yes.
Interesting. So for someone listening who is about to buy a property, like I mentioned today, our discussion is mainly on registered agents before we go to the demolitions. So for our listeners, when we are talking about someone who's interested in buying or selling a property, why should they rather engage a registered agent instead of the ones that are not registered?
There are a number of advantages in engaging yourself in registered estate agents. Mm-hmm. There's been a number of fraudsters and bogus dealers out there. So if you deal with a registered estate agency, there will be actually security on your part. Mm-hmm. In terms of financial security. Your finances actually they'll be secured. Because us as a registered estate agent, we have got a trust account, which is actually monitored even by the Reserve Bank of Zimbabwe.
Okay.
Yes, and we before we sell our properties, we do property verifications. Mm-hmm. We don't sell properties which are not up to date when it comes to legal issues. So it is an added advantage for you to buy through us, and because you'll be protected in almost every way.
Okay.
Yes.
So when we are saying registered, we are referring to the registration with the Estate Agents Council of Zimbabwe.
Yes, ma'am.
So am I correct to say that you also be an organization or an agent with a trust fund, a compensation fund, instead of just a trust fund, a compensation fund?
Yes.
So is that a security to someone who wants to buy?
Yes, it is.
How can you unpack
that? It is. Because if we have got a compensation fund, that means that we are registered with the Estate Agents Council.
Okay.
And that compensation fund, it actually protects your money. Mm-hmm. That is, if anything happens, like in another way.
Reimbursement.
There will be a reimbursement in that firm. Yes.
All right, interesting. So kindly unpack to us that if a buyer is, if an agent is approached, mm-hmm. or how can a buyer, an ordinary buyer, be able to know that this is a registered agent and this one is not? Because there should be something that demarcates the two. How can you tell that this agent that is engaged me is a registered one or is not a registered one?
Okay. What is best is that you do the searches through the Estate Agents Council. Mm-hmm. That's number one. You can actually visit their offices and you can check with them and see the listings that they have. You can actually also do it online.
Okay.
If you go online, you check the real estate there is actually a directory
on their website as well.
On their website, yeah.
Okay.
And then you check whether the name of the company is actually there.
Okay.
Yes. Or also you can also come to their visit our offices, and then you can ask for documents like the compensation certificate, mm-hmm. and see if we are actually registered with with the Estate Agents Council.
Okay. So this registration is renewed annually?
Yes, it is.
So it means that every registered agent should have a practicing certificate, particularly for that particular year?
Confirmed.
Okay. And to our viewers nationwide, we put a disclaimer that this information we are sharing is to the best of our knowledge, and we are not representing the Estate Agents Council of Zimbabwe. Okay, moving on to the next question, whereby we want to discuss about demolitions of properties. I've been reading online, there are a number of demolition cases that are upcoming. 2 weeks ago, we had the Stone Ridge demolition, and currently last week we had the Belvedere, the Madokero, the Mob Rain. What's your comment to all these demolitions that are happening currently? And from your professional experience, what are the common causes of such properties to end up being demolished?
All right. There's actually a number of issues which actually leads to demolitions. Okay. But what actually lacks from the buyers is due diligence. What's more important is for you to engage maybe a professional person, or you yourself do due diligence when it comes to the property that you want to buy. Yes. When we are talking about due diligence, we are talking about checking if the property papers are intact, whether the person whom you call the legal owner, would that be really the legal owner? And you're also checking if the acreage that they're talking about doesn't supersede to another stand, which is not actually part of their stand.
Okay, so if I can come in there, you are referring to the causes of demolitions, and you are on the first one, which is whereby there are issues in relation to the land ownership, disputes in relation to the land ownership itself. That's why we're saying there will be requirement for due diligence. Yeah, nekuti kuputsirwa imba chinhu chakangooma.
It's true.
Yeah, and then the other cause, is it only whereby there are disputes on the piece of land, or there are also other causes which might cause demolition? Because my understanding is that council, if the property is not approved by council, they have a right to come in and demolish the particular piece of land. Is that correct, ma'am?
It is. It is. Okay, what happens is if you bypass the requirements of the local authorities, say for example, you build superstructures which are not by the bylaws of the subdivision permit, then there will be what? There will be
subject to demolition.
It's subject to demolition.
Okay.
So in a nutshell, each and every property should have a subdivision permit. In that subdivision permit, it actually explains the requirements that are actually required by the local authorities or the council on what they expect you or the landowners to do on the particular land. So if you do something which is actually outside their requirements, then demolitions is actually prone to happen.
All right.
Yes.
So in addition to that, we are saying even if after you have done the whole due diligence, you've actually seen that your property, the land itself that you're purchasing, everything is okay and everything is above board. But as you are building, you're supposed to be in compliance of the terms and condition and subject to the inspection and the approval of the local authority.
Exactly.
Yeah. Have you ever had any transaction which resulted in demolition yourself?
I cannot say I have been through one, but I actually had a number of cases actually outside our industry and also in our industry as well.
Oh, that's interesting. Okay. Yeah. So to our listeners here present, what lesson should a buyer and developer take from possibly the current demolitions that are ongoing? I'll give reference to the Warwick one and the Stone Ridge one. What are the takeaway lessons from that? Is there still room to actually have property that cannot be demolished in Zimbabwe? And if that's so, how do I get there? What's our takeaway lesson?
Actually, there is plenty of room for you to get a property which will not be demolished. The major thing that you should consider when you're buying a property is to look for a property with a certificate of compliance. The property with the certificate of compliance, it is a property which with all the requirements which have been set by the local authorities, as I said before. Yes. So the lessons that we actually get from those places which have been demolished was I've noticed that the main cause is because, say for example, I buy a property from a person who's not the owner, right? That calls for demolition because I've been misrepresented, actually. And also, the thing is, they look at the popularity of a person. I won't mention the names. Say, for example, I'm a popular person, and I'm an MP in that area. And then you say, oh, because Florine is an MP in that area, no one would actually come and demolish this area because she's an MP here.
Okay.
But the local authorities doesn't look at who is the MP. The local authority looks at who is the owner of the property
by law.
Okay. And also if you meet the regulations which have been set by by the ministry itself. Yeah. So the major issue here is on allocation. Who is allocating who?
Okay.
That is where the main issue is.
All right.
Yes.
Does that person have the capacity to be selling you this particular piece of land? Does that piece of land has disputes that are pending in the courts of law? Because eventually they will catch up with you and you will suffer the demolition, as she's rightfully saying.
Yes.
Okay. So before someone building, now we're covering the first part of what causes demolition. I'm now moving to the second segment whereby there is no approval by the relevant authority. Before someone starts building, what documents or approvals should they verify to reduce the risk of demolition? You mentioned something called COC, that's the Certificate of Compliance,
yes.
But is that the only document? Basically, can you give us a rundown of all the important documents that are supposed to be there before you buy a stand, would justify that this is the person who has the right to be selling me this particular piece of land? If that is possible.
All right.
Yeah.
You need to check if before we talk about, on land, before checking, maybe after checking the ownership, whether they've got title deeds, or maybe it's under...
Start from there, because I believe my listeners are ordinary person. It's just from me who's seated at home. I want to buy a stand.
Right.
What should I look at from Genesis?
All right.
Yeah.
Well, the first document that you need to look at is ownership, as I've said before. But that ownership should be maybe under title deed. Does the property have title deeds? Is the property under local government? Or is the property under the City Council of Harare? Okay. That's so we've got title deed and we've got cession.
All right.
And then the next stage is you need to check if there is a subdivision permit.
Okay. That's in relation to stands now.
That's in relation to stands.
That don't have title deed, like each stand coming with its own title deed. We are now referring to a whole project whereby we are saying there are more than 30 stands in such a place.
Yes.
Okay.
Any piece of land should have a subdivision permit.
All right.
It should be maybe one stand. Is it authorized? I mean, are they peggings?
All right.
Which are actually legalized by the authority that there should be a stand over there.
Okay.
So we are saying that there should be a subdivision permit. And then after the subdivision permit, we should have an approved layout plan by the Surveyor General.
Okay.
Yes, which is actually marks that stand number of yours.
All right.
So that when I visit the what do you call
the particular piece of land? Oh, the Surveyor
General's office. I should be able to identify my stand number there.
So that also relates to dispensation certificate?
Yes.
Okay.
And then we should have a dispensation certificate, and we should also have the development permit.
All right.
From the local authorities. I might have the subdivision permit, but I should also have the authority to develop that area.
Okay. So
in those pieces of papers, they'll be giving us guidelines. Say on the subdivision permit, they'll be giving us guidelines on the perimeters. Say there is a water drainage, where should it start, where should it end, or maybe there is sewer, pipelines and something like that. Everything will be on the drawings. Say the approved layout plans.
All right.
And then after that, you need to see if they've got an EMA clearance certificate.
Correct.
Of course, they've been approved to develop the property. But does EMA approve you on developing in that area. Say it's a wetland. Is EMA authorizing
or there's
you?
aqua life in that particular development.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And also when you're making your developments, where are you going to be disposing your waste? That is an instruction from EMA's office to tell you how to what? How to be conducting your services on that piece of land.
Right.
And then after that, now the engineers come into place, and then the developments are actually being done. And then the last piece of paper, which is very, very, very crucial and very important, it is the certificate of compliance.
Okay.
The certificate of compliance, it is a certificate which is being allocated to the landowners or to the land developers. Well, they'll be told that you have met all the requirements from the local authorities that you have been
the
given.
conditions on the permit now.
Yes.
It's more like marking to say you are done.
Yes.
Now people can actually have title deeds.
Now people can now have title deeds.
So if I'm to summarize that, you have mentioned that if one wants to buy a piece of land, they should make sure that there's legit ownership, which can be proved by a title deed, or can be proved by a council cession certificate, or can be proved by any documentation from the local government. From there should be a subdivision permit. And when there is a subdivision permit, that's not only enough. You should also have an approved layout. You should also have dispensation certificate. And you also mentioned that before development, it's not just common cause that if you have a subdivision permit, you can just go ahead and develop, but you should have a development permit and a certificate from EMA would justify to say, okay, fine, if you are to develop in these wetlands, these are the conditions. For example, if you are to reserve this piece of land, where are you going to put your waste management issues to do with that? Interesting. Now, if you comply to all those things, do I risk to have my property demolished?
Not at all.
All
Not
right.
at all.
That's interesting. So let's move on to the other issue that has taken Zimbabwe by surprise, but I can say that this is the trending cheap land in the town, whereby we have Sabhuku deals.
Oh, yeah.
I do not. Do you understand what a Sabhuku deals? By no specific definition, since it's not a legal term per se. But what are Sabhuku deals?
Well, Sabhuku deal, it's from real estate perspective, it is the sale of communal land or state land by the head chiefs or the Sabhukus. Yes.
Okay. So normally, how do such arrangements happen? Because my understanding is Sabhuku deals does not have all the paperwork that we were listing when we're talking about demolitions. There's no title deed. And there's no right per se to sell or to engage in any transaction of that sort. So from what you, not that you are into that, but from what you have heard in practice, how do these transaction arrangement usually happen actually?
My apologies to say that these transactions, they actually happen illegally. Why do I say so? Because the communal land and the state land, it actually belongs to the president because he's the spokesperson to the people. And the Sabhukus and the chief heads, they are representatives in the community.
All right.
But they do not have the power or the authority to sell those lands, unless maybe you just want to appreciate them. But they've got the power to allocate, people, they can allocate, they've got actually the power to allocate according to the conditions under their power. I don't know how can I can term that, but they can allocate. Say you visit there, you've got nowhere to stay, you can go to the Sabhuku and they can actually allocate you if you actually meet the standards which they are actually looking at.
All right. Saka inini ndiri kuti ndiri mwana wekwachinyowa.
Yes.
Ndoshaiwa here nzvimbo yepekugara nekuti handina mari to purchase the stands that are in the CBDs that are in the towns surrounding me. But then I have a rural home, because I'm understanding that the Sabhuku is coming from the rural home aspect of it. So if I am to be given pekungogarawo nemuridzi webhuku, ndo husabhuku wachona from my understanding.
Yes. That's where the allocation comes in now.
You're okay.
Yes.
Is there any legal document that can be given to justify that this is where I'm staying? Because I know you have mentioned that it's illegal, but I just want it to be really clear to our listeners here present. Is there any form of paperwork or legal document that one can be given to say, ini ndiri mwana wekwachinyowa ndiri kugara mubhuku rekwachinyowa, saka apa ndo pandakufana kugarawo in this communal land?
There is no legal document there, because it's actually state land, as I've mentioned before.
That's correct.
So if for example, Jokwani area wants to be densified into residential stands, I've got no power to say that I own 2 hectares of property, so you can't come into my land, because it's not my land. Actually, I'm leasing from the state.
So I even stand a chance to have my rural home demolished again, as if I'm the one in Sondridge.
Yeah, they cannot demolish as per se, but maybe they can reallocate you, or they can reduce your stand size.
Okay.
Yes.
But we are saying it's not a freehold ownership, form of ownership.
No.
There is no absolute title to that particular piece of land, and it's temporary.
Yes.
There are chances that you can be reallocated, or adjustment can be made to that effect.
Exactly.
But now, just because it seems everyone is going into Sabhuku deals, what's your general comment to that? Is it something that our listeners here should go for? Because someone might say, I just want to have a project here, for instance, and I just want to have my project for the next 2 years. Can I not just get a Sabhuku deal, build my flower run there, and proceed? And if I want to do that, is it a transaction whereby I can engage an agent, because you have mentioned that it's illegal? Do you entertain that at all?
On my personal capacity, I don't entertain that. Because it's actually a do or die situation.
Yeah.
It's either you win or whether you lose. Or maybe you can run there for 5 years or 10 years, and then at the end of the day, something, you never know what the state will actually think of that location in terms of the development.
Yes, because there's room for those communal lands to then end up being growth points, and then from being growth points to be towns.
Yes.
Yeah. So what's your takeaway?
That's where demolition comes in now. Say you come in a reserved area. Should I mention this? No. Say you come in a reserved area, maybe for another upcoming city. Okay, let me give you this example. Of my rural home. I come from Zimba, specifically Jokwani.
Yes.
Now it's being densified into smaller lots.
Yes.
My father used to own a very big chunk from my grandfather.
Yes.
But now we received letters from Zimba Rural that they want to densify into smaller lots, that area, to be to what you call it, they want to turn that into a town.
Okay.
So we were given actually options that each and every child from the family should pay to Zimba Rural Council, like they're just the minimum fees. If my father didn't want to do that, if the local authority comes, like Zimba Rural, if they come and they want to take the part which is not occupied, they've got the right to take it. Why? Because he was given the instruction to reduce the pieces of land, because they want to modernize the area. So this is actually what happens in other communal areas as well. So you wouldn't know what will happen in future. But what is more important is, if you want you should buy a plot with title deeds, or a farm with title deeds. That way you'll be actually secure.
Saka muri kuti chiri uta muri kuti if I am given an opportunity, if my listener, our listeners here are given a chance to purchase upiwa offer yekunzi tenga isabhuku diwi, what's your professional advice to that?
My professional advice, if it is for a lifetime, I would advise you to do that.
It's something that you cannot consider as a retirement home?
No.
At all?
Not at all.
Interesting.
It's actually risky. It's either you win or it's either you lose. Because when they come to regularize the area, what if your homestead is actually on the main road? There is actually high chances of demolitions.
That's a big risk.
That's a big risk.
All right. Now that we have addressed that Sabhuku deals are not for our listeners here present, there is a new thing that has taken over the town, which is called group buying.
Yes.
What's your understanding of group buying? What really happens when it's a group buy? Is it I'm coming together with my friends or the people I know that I purchased a piece of land with, or it's someone who's offering to say, I have this piece of land, come and buy in your group? Unpack this animal called group buying. What is happening in the industry? Okay,
group buying is, say for example, DingaMuzi Real Estate. They've got 100 employees, and they want to have a community for their company. It's an example, right? That's group buying. We actually purchase a land for, let's say for example, 100 hectares or maybe a chunk of land for us to develop. It's an advantage. Why? Because it's actually cheaper. At the end of the day, the stands, the end product, it's actually cheaper when you do group buying.
All right. But I've been seeing advertisement ads on social media whereby this group buying now is not only being done for people of a common background or people who are from the same company, but rather it's a certain real estate or a certain firm or a certain realtor whereby they are calling in people to say, okay, fine, we can do a group buying of this farm, and then we then continue to subdivide it and develop it, but for now bring in registrations fee of $50 or bring in 2,000. Is that a proper way of securing land, since you have mentioned that for you to be in a position to secure land you should have subdivision permit? Can I go for group buying when there's no subdivision permit? What's your professional advice to that effect?
Yes, it is. That is if the company that is actually managing your funds is actually registered, and if they hold a trust account which will be monitored also by the bank, because the account should be monitored. You should have a trust which should be monitored by the bank. So it's a secure way of buying as well, but you need to check if the trustees are actually registered.
Okay.
Yes.
So whilst we're talking about group buying, what are the safest ways that one can enter into this arrangement in, and what are the biggest because there are risks surrounding the ownership.
Yes.
Because there is no subdivision permit as yet. There is a probability that the permit might not be endorsed.
Yes.
Because I understand the pieces of land in Zimbabwe are subject to zoning. It depends if that area has been zoned for possibly residential or it's for agro use. So the change of use is subject to approval or not being approved. So how do I secure that I'm protected whilst I'm doing this group buying?
Okay, group buying, normally it's actually monitored by banks. And there should be a trustee. No monies or no funds actually are permitted to go out without the approval of a representative from the bank and the trustees in the board.
All right.
So it's actually safe because it's like the whole process is managed by the bank.
So you are saying it's only safe when there is a trust account involved?
A trust account, and if the trustees
can be held liable
and are working, are being managed by a registered bank.
All right.
Yes.
Okay.
Because what happens is when you want the first step is we're a group of 100 people. We are saying maybe we are raising $50 or $100 per month. That chunk will be deposited in the bank. So every month we'll be paying our installments that we have agreed on to the bank.
All right.
So each and every stage is actually monitored by the bank, by the bankers.
All right.
I, as the trustee, will bring my application. Say I've found a land worth 100,000. The bank looks at it. Is the value really worth that much? And are all the trustees in agreement with that value? And then once it's being approved and all the documents are being checked, then the bank releases the money to the what? To the purchase, to the sellers. So each and every process is actually monitored by the bank.
All right. But from my legal background, an agreement of sale is invalid when you are being sold a certain piece of land that is not yet under an approved layout or where there's no subdivision permit to that effect. So as they are doing this agreement, confirm that this is not an agreement of sale. It's a different arrangement altogether.
It's not an agreement of
sale. It's
an
understanding of some sort.
It's an understanding of 100 people who are saying now, we want to purchase a land. If you can take note of this, those people will be not aware on how many square meters will be coming out of that land.
Yes.
All they just want is land.
But however, we are seeing adverts whereby it's actually being said you can get into this group buying whereby we are securing 1,000 square meter per person and the cost is going to be so and so. If it is like that, are there no issues there? Is there no risk when it's worded or framed like that?
I wouldn't know. I wouldn't want to answer. If they actually have to mention that there should be 1,000 square meters, then that means that the property will have been developed at a certain stage. Maybe the subdivision permit must be available.
Okay.
The layout plan must be available for them to be able to identify that there should be 1,000 square meters.
All right.
How about if we say we want to acquire a land, and then we want to make an application to the council and say we want to develop 1,000 square meters and it being declined by the local authorities? What will happen then?
That's my reservation.
Yes. There. So it should actually be clear from the word go. That is if you want to buy from scratch. But there's also a group buying, say you want to buy from a developed property as well. Say it's a development which is actually underway, whereby they've got the paperwork up to development permit. And DingaMuzi wants to purchase 100 stands on installments. That's another type of group buying. Okay. Yeah, so it now varies now with what kind of a group buying are we actually referring to.
All right, so now let's go through the checklist of the group buying that we mentioned initially that doesn't have a subdivision permit as yet or where there is no documentation in place as yet. So the checklist, if you can take us through, or you'd want to see if I was listening attentively.
Yeah, I would want to see if you were listening attentively as we'll be discussing this as we go.
All right, so yes. The checklist is still ownership is of importance.
Exactly.
Know that is there ownership of this land with the people that you are entering into an understanding with.
Yes.
Let's say if it's a board of trustees, like what you're saying, if it's a company, does the company have ownership over it? If it's an individual, does the individual have ownership over it?
Yes.
And secondly, do we have a trust account? Which one is the bank whereby we'll be depositing our money?
Yes.
All right. And thirdly, who is the responsible person over this particular piece, bank account? More like someone who can then be held liable if there's release of funds or misappropriation of funds to that effect.
Exactly.
All right. And then if it's a group buying whereby everything else has been developed, it's a different arrangement altogether.
Yes.
Oh, understand. Yes. I understand. So group buying can still proceed.
It can proceed.
But however, you have to be very careful.
Very careful.
All right.
Everything goes to due diligence. Everything, when it comes to real estate, it goes to due diligence. If it is a group, who is in control? Who gave them the power? What power do they have? That's what is more important.
Everything goes through due diligence, save for Sabhuku deals.
You can say that again. Sabhuku deal is safe for me if I'm a Ndanandiri mwana waikoko.
Yeah, someone was telling me that the only way you can, your title deed, if it's a Sabhuku deal transaction, is Guhara Sekuru wako.
Yeah.
Where are your forefathers buried? All right,
Yes,
that's
yes.
okay. So now, as we're coming to the end of this segment, I would like us to possibly tell us a little bit about your real estate firm. What are your key values? Because listeners here present have been subjected to funny realtors in the industry, and we would want to know what are your key values as DingaMuzi Real Estate, and why should listeners trust you when it comes to securing properties?
Okay. First of all, we are a registered estate agent, and we are registered with the Estate Agents Council of Zimbabwe, and we help customers up to completion in terms of purchase and disposal of properties. We actually make sure that before the property is being sold, we do our due diligence, which is actually the key point in property sales and property purchase as well. Yes, ma'am.
All right. So you are saying you are of integrity and you're trustworthy,
Yes.
and you can be with an individual who wants to secure property from the start up to the time that they are holding their own title
deed,
or
yes.
session certificate.
Yes.
All right. And if you can just give us a rundown of the services again. Is it all about buying and selling?
No.
What else do you offer?
Okay, we do property sales, we do property management, we do property valuations,
Okay.
and we do property development.
All right.
Yes, ma'am.
Where can listeners find you?
We are at Newlands Shopping Center, Sunlam building, suite number 110, first floor 110.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for staying with us in this episode, whereby we had Florine, who was so generous to give us the pros of why dealing with a registered agent over someone who's not registered. We went on to discuss the issues of demolition, which can still be avoided in Zimbabwe. What is basic is to know that the land does not have any dispute, the ownership is in check, and you are constructing your superstructure according and subject to the approval of the councils that will be local in that particular areas. We spoke of Sabhuku deals. Interesting. They are never going to be legal from what she was saying. So if you have a Sabhuku deal, you have an expiring debt, eventually it will catch up with you. We also spoke of group buying, which is a very common thing now. It's possible you can continue with group buying, but there's a checklist that you're supposed to make sure that you've complied with, as he has rightfully said. I'm excited to say next week we'll actually be unpacking on how someone can have title deeds whilst you are someone who has an offer letter. A1 and A2 farmers, you are in a position to secure a title deed, and we'll be actually be having a guest who has gone through that process, and they will be unpacking it. And thank you for listening to our today's episode.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am, for coming through.
Thank you very much.
Okay.